You really thought showing up in that cheap polyester suit would guilt us into giving you a dime, didn't you, Jade? Daphne sneered, swirling her champagne. Save it, Maxwell interrupted, his voice booming across the mahogany table. Dad is dead. The free ride is over. You aren't a walker by blood, and as of this morning you aren't welcome in this house. Security is already on the way to escort you off the premises. Jade looked at the lawyer, Felix Lawson, who sat silently polishing his glasses. He didn't look up. Not yet. I'm not leaving, Maxwell, Jade said, her voice trembling but firm. Oh, you're leaving, Riley laughed, checking her reflection in her phone. Unless you want to be arrested for trespassing on my property. The lawyer finally cleared his throat. The sound was like a gunshot in the quiet library. I would advise against removing Ms. Knight, Felix said, opening the leather folder, considering she is the only person in this room currently standing on her own property. Jade Knight stood near the entrance of the Grand Library, clutching her purse so tightly her knuckles had turned white. She felt small, a sensation she was used to in this house. She was 32 years old, a successful pediatric nurse, and a woman who paid her own bills, yet the moment she stepped across the threshold of the Walker estate, she reverted to being the charity case. The stepdaughter. The mistake Uriel Walker had made when he married her mother 20 years ago. Her mother had passed away 5 years prior, and the blood Walkers, Uriel's brother Maxwell, his sister Daphne, and his children Riley and Trevor, had spent every day since trying to scrub Jade from the family portrait. Check the catering staff, a voice drawled from the center of the room. It was Riley Edwards, Uriel's daughter. She was draped in black silk that cost more than Jade's car, looking less like a grieving daughter and more like a runway model posing for a tragic aesthetic. I think one of them got lost and wandered into the reading. Be nice, Riley. Trevor Quincy, Uriel's son, chuckled. He was pouring himself a scotch from Uriel's private reserve, a crystal decanter that he held with possessive arrogance. Jade came to pay her respects, and by respects, I mean she came to see if the old man left her enough for a bus ticket back to the city. Jade straightened her spine. I came because Felix asked me to be here, she said quietly. Felix is a procedural bore. Maxwell Carroll, Uriel's younger brother, grunted. He was a large man, physically imposing, with a red face that suggested high blood pressure and a temper to match. He had been running, and arguably ruining, the logistics arm of Walker Industries for the last decade. He has to invite everyone named in the preliminary contact list. That doesn't mean you're in the will, Jade. Uriel knew better. In the end, blood calls to blood. Jade looked around the room. It was filled with people who had ostensibly loved Uriel, yet not a single tear had been shed since the casket was lowered 2 hours ago. The conversation had immediately shifted to asset liquidation, stock portfolios, and the Hamptons house. Uriel Walker had been a complicated man, hard, exacting, and often distant. But in the last 2 years, as cancer ate away at his strength, Jade had been the one driving him to chemotherapy. Jade had been the one sitting up with him when the pain was too much for morphine to touch. Maxwell had been in Macau on business. Riley had been in Paris for Fashion Week. Trevor had been busy crashing Ferraris. I don't expect anything, Jade said, and she meant it. Uriel had paid for her nursing school. That was enough. I just wanted to hear his final words. His final words were probably, "Get that girl out of my sight." Daphne Carter, Jade's aunt by marriage, hissed. Daphne was sitting in Uriel's high-backed leather chair, already claiming the throne. You embarrassed him, Jade. Working a blue-collar job? Wiping noses and bottoms at a hospital when you carry the Walker name? It was dignified of him to finally cut you off. I don't carry the Walker name, Jade reminded her. I kept my father's name. Exactly. Maxwell slammed his hand on the table, making the china rattle. You were never one of us. You were a pest, a leech attached to your mother, and when she died, Uriel was just too polite to scrape you off immediately. But he's gone now. The protection is gone. The double doors of the library opened with a heavy creak. The room fell silent. Felix Lawson entered. He was a man of indeterminate age, with silver hair, a bespoke charcoal suit, and eyes that missed nothing. He carried a thick leather briefcase. Behind him trailed Hope Payne, Uriel's long-time executive assistant. Hope looked exhausted, her eyes red-rimmed. The only person besides Jade who seemed to have actually cried today. "Afternoon," Felix said, his voice dry and devoid of warmth. He walked to the head of the table, glancing at Daphne until she huffed and vacated Uriel's chair. Felix sat down, placing the briefcase on the table with a deliberate thud. "Let's get this over with, Lawson," Trevor said, swirling his drink. "I have a flight to Aspen at 8. Just tell us the breakdown. I'm assuming 50% to me and Riley. Split the rest between Max and Daphne? Oh, and cut a check for the help." He gestured vaguely at Hope and Jade. Felix didn't answer. He unlocked the briefcase, the dual clicks sounding loud in the cavernous room. He pulled out a thick document bound in blue velvet. "The last will and testament of Uriel Jameson Walker," Felix announced, dated 3 days prior to his passing. 3 days? Maxwell narrowed his eyes. Wait a minute. The will on file is from 2018. I saw the draft. Mr. Walker updated his will frequently, Felix said smoothly. This is the final, legal, and binding version. Witnessed by myself and Dr. Addison Jennings, his attending physician. "Addison?" Riley scoffed. "That holistic quack? Whatever. Just read it so we can sign the papers." Jade sat in a small wooden chair against the wall, away from the main table. She felt like an intruder at a corporate merger. She caught Hope's eye. The assistant gave her a small, almost imperceptible nod. It wasn't a nod of reassurance, it was a nod of preparation. Like she was telling Jade to brace for impact. Felix Lawson adjusted his reading glasses and looked over the rims at the gathered family. Uriel was a man of precision. He requested that I read his specific remarks regarding each beneficiary before disclosing the asset allocation. He wanted there to be no ambiguity regarding his reasoning. He loved the sound of his own voice, Daphne muttered. "Get on with it." Felix began to read. "To my brother Maxwell. You have always believed that being the loudest man in the room made you the smartest. You have managed the logistics division of Walker Industries for 10 years. In that time, operating costs have risen by 40%, while productivity has dropped. You treated the company coffers as your personal piggy bank." Maxwell's face turned a shade of purple. "This is slander. I'll sue the estate." Felix ignored him and continued reading. "I am aware of the kickbacks you took from the shipping vendors in Jersey. I have the receipts. Because I do not wish to see a Walker in prison, I have sealed this evidence, provided you accept your inheritance without contest." "Which is?" Maxwell demanded, sweat beading on his forehead. "To Maxwell," Felix read, "I leave my collection of vintage naval compasses. Perhaps they will help you find a moral direction, though I doubt it." Silence stretched across the room. It was thick and heavy. Maxwell stood up, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. "Compasses? That's it? No stock? No seat on the board?" "You have been removed from the board effective this morning," Felix said calmly. "Security has already cleared your desk." Riley let out a nervous laugh. "Okay, Daddy was mad at Uncle Max. We get it. What about us?" Felix turned the page. "To my daughter, Riley. You are beautiful, charismatic, and entirely hollow. You have spent more money on handbags in the last year than most families earn in a decade. You haven't visited me in the hospital once, claiming the antiseptic smell made you nauseous. Yet, you had no trouble stomping through the mud at Glastonbury. Riley crossed her arms, her defensive shield going up. I have a brand to maintain. I couldn't be seen in a hospice ward. To Riley, Felix continued, I leave a trust fund. Riley exhaled, a smug smile returning. Finally. The trust fund contains $10,000, Felix finished. It is to be used exclusively for a vocational course of your choosing. I suggest something practical. Perhaps plumbing. Riley shrieked. It was a primal, piercing sound. 10,000? That doesn't even cover my rent for a month. This is a joke. Felix, tell me this is a sick joke. I am afraid not, Felix said. He turned to Trevor. Trevor set his scotch down. He looked less arrogant now, a flicker of genuine fear in his eyes. To my son, Trevor, you possess a sharp mind, which you have used exclusively to exploit loopholes and gamble with money that wasn't yours. You view people as resources to be mined. You are cruel, Trevor. I watched how you treated the staff, how you kicked a dog that got in your way, how you spoke to your stepmother. Trevor clenched his jaw. I made this family millions on the crypto swing, and lost twice that on the futures market, Felix corrected, reading from Uriel's notes. To Trevor, I leave the outstanding debt of your gambling markers in Vegas, which I purchased last week. I am now your creditor. You owe the estate $400,000. You have 6 months to pay it back before the estate executes a lien on your personal assets. Trevor looked like he was going to be sick. And finally, Felix looked at Daphne. To my sister-in-law, Daphne, you never liked me. I never liked you. You are a gossip and a social climber who married my brother for proximity to my wallet. To you, I leave nothing. Absolutely nothing. Except a cease and desist order regarding the use of the Walker name for your charity galas, which I know act as tax shelters for your vacations. The room erupted. Maxwell was shouting about mental incompetence. Riley was crying, checking her makeup in her phone camera to see if it was running. Trevor was staring at the table, pale as a sheet. This is insanity, Maxwell roared. He was medicated. He was out of his mind. We will contest this. We will drag this out in court for years. Who gets it then? The government? Charity? Maxwell spun around and pointed a shaking finger at Jade. Did he leave it to the nurse? Did he leave it to the charity case? Felix closed the folder. We haven't finished the reading. What else is there? Daphne screeched. He ruined us. The residuary clause, Felix said. Everything else, the controlling interest in Walker Industries, the real estate portfolio, the offshore accounts, the patent library and this house, is left to the designated sole heir. Who? Trevor demanded. Who did he manipulate into this? Felix looked directly at Jade. Jade felt her heart stop. She shook her head. No, she whispered. I don't want it. I can't run a company. The sole heir, Felix said clearly, is Liam Walker. The silence that followed was different. It wasn't angry, it was confused. Liam? Maxwell frowned. Liam is dead. He died in that climbing accident in Nepal 6 years ago. They never found the body. Liam is not dead, Felix said. Uriel found him 2 years ago. Liam had distanced himself from the family. He has been living in a rehabilitation facility in Switzerland, recovering from severe injuries and creating a new life away from the toxicity of this environment. So the cripple gets it all? Riley spat. A ghost gets the empire? Liam Walker is the beneficiary, Felix nodded. However, due to Liam's desire to remain out of the public eye and focus on his recovery, he has declined to act as the CEO or the executor of the estate. He has appointed a proxy, someone he trusts explicitly, someone who was the only person to send him letters even when she thought he was gone, someone who visited his empty grave every birthday. Felix turned his eyes to Jade. The controlling proxy, with full power of attorney over the Walker estate and CEO position of Walker Industries, is Jade Knight. Jade gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. The family turned to her in unison. The look on their faces wasn't just hatred anymore. It was the realization that the insect they had been trying to crush was suddenly holding the boot. "No," Maxwell whispered. "No, that's impossible. She's a nurse. She's a nobody." "She is the boss," Felix corrected. "And as the proxy for the owner, she decides who stays in this house and who works at the company." This was the moment the hook had teased. "You really thought showing up in that cheap polyester suit would guilt us into giving you a dime, didn't you, Jade?" Daphne had said minutes ago. Now the dynamic had inverted so violently it caused physical vertigo. "So," Felix said, leaning back, "Jade, what are your instructions regarding the current occupants of the residence?" The atmosphere in the library shifted from shock to a dangerous, kinetic energy. Maxwell's face darkened, his large hands curling into fists at his sides. He took a step toward Jade, his physical presence designed to intimidate, a tactic he had used in boardrooms and family dinners for decades. "You manipulated him," Maxwell growled, his voice low and menacing. "You and that holistic quack doctor. You drugged him and made him sign this nonsense. You think you can take my company? I built the logistics network. I am Walker Industries." Jade remained seated, though every instinct in her body screamed at her to run. She looked at Maxwell, really looked at him, and saw not an uncle, but a desperate, greedy man cornered by his own actions. "You didn't build it, Maxwell," Jade said, her voice surprisingly steady. "You siphoned from it. Uriel showed me the ledgers 3 months ago." "Lies!" Maxwell lunged. Before he could reach her, 2 men in dark suits stepped out from the shadows of the adjoining study. They were large, efficient, and clearly private security. They blocked Maxwell's path with stone-faced indifference. "I suggest you step back, Mr. Carroll," Felix said, not even looking up from his papers. "Assaulting the CEO is a felony, and considering you are currently under investigation for embezzlement, I wouldn't add to your charge sheet." "Investigation?" Maxwell froze. "The forensic audit began 4 weeks ago," Felix said pleasantly. "Uriel wanted it completed before he passed. It's quite thorough. We have the offshore accounts, the shell companies in the Caymans, everything. The police are waiting for my call. Jade has the discretion to press charges or to allow you to handle it internally." Maxwell deflated. The bluster vanished, replaced by the terror of a man who realizes his safety net has been incinerated. He looked at Jade. For the first time in her life, he didn't look down at her. He looked at her, pleadingly. "Jade," he stammered. "Family. We're family. You wouldn't let them put me in jail. Think of the scandal." Jade stood up slowly. Her legs felt heavy, but she forced herself to walk to the head of the table. She placed her hand on the high-backed leather chair, Uriel's chair. She didn't sit in it. She just stood behind it. "Family," Jade repeated the word, tasting the bitterness of it. "When my mother was dying of breast cancer, she asked you for a loan to cover a specialist, Maxwell. You told her that bad investments don't get bailouts. She was your sister-in-law." Maxwell swallowed hard. "That was business." And this is business, Jade said. She turned to Riley. Riley was frantically typing on her phone. I'm calling my lawyers. This is fraud. You can't just kick us out. I have residency rights. I've lived here for 24 years. Actually, Felix interjected, the deed to this estate was transferred to a trust in Liam's name 2 years ago. You have been guests, and guests can be asked to leave. I have nowhere to go, Riley cried, the tears real now, fueled by panic. I leased the loft in Soho to that influencer for the year. I can't live in a hotel. You have $10,000, Jade said coldly. That should cover a few weeks at a Motel 6, or you could sell some of those handbags. You bitch, Riley screamed, lunging forward, but Trevor caught her arm. Trevor was the smartest of them, and he knew when the game was lost. He looked at Jade with calculating eyes. Okay, you won. Good play, Jade. Really. But you can't run the company. You're a nurse. You don't know the first thing about corporate strategy. You need me. Keep me on. I can help you navigate the board. I can help you smooth this over with the shareholders. The same shareholders you defrauded? Jade asked. Uriel told me about the insider trading, Trevor. The SEC is already building a file. The only reason they haven't raided your penthouse yet is because Uriel begged them to wait until after the funeral. Trevor's face went slack. So, Jade took a deep breath. She felt a strange sensation in her chest. It wasn't joy. It wasn't even satisfaction. It was just relief. The weight of 20 years of mockery, of being the help, of being the mistake, was lifting. Here is what is going to happen, Jade said, addressing the room. She channeled Uriel's sternest voice. You have 1 hour to pack your personal effects, clothes, toiletries, and personal electronics only. No jewelry, no art, no heirlooms. Security will supervise every bag. If you try to take a single silver spoon, I will have you arrested for theft. 1 hour? Daphne gasped. It will take me a week to pack my closet. Then I guess you'll leave a lot behind. Jade shrugged. After 1 hour, the locks will be changed. The gate codes will be reset. And if you ever set foot on this property again without an invitation, you will be prosecuted. You can't do this, Daphne wailed, looking to the others for support, but finding none. Maxwell was staring at the floor. Trevor was pouring another drink with shaking hands. Riley was sobbing into her designer scarf. I can, Jade said. And I am. Because this isn't my house. It's Liam's house. And unlike you, I actually care about what the owner wants. And he wants the infestation removed. Jade turned to Felix. Mr. Lawson, please ensure the security team escorts them to their vehicles. Check the trunks. With pleasure, Ms. Knight, Felix said, closing his briefcase. As the family devolved into chaos, Daphne screaming at maids, Riley throwing a vase against the wall, Maxwell slumped in a chair. Jade walked out of the library. She walked through the grand foyer, past the portrait of Uriel, and out the front door into the rain. She stood on the porch, the cold mist hitting her face. She pulled her phone out. She had one number to call, a number that had been inactive for everyone else for 6 years. She dialed. It rang twice. Hello, a voice answered. It was rough, raspy, but familiar. It's done, Liam, Jade said softly. They know. How did they take it? Liam Walker asked. About as well as you expected, Jade replied. The screaming hasn't stopped. Good, Liam said. Now the real work begins, Jade. They won't go quietly. Maxwell has friends in low places. Trevor is desperate. Watch your back. I know, Jade said, watching the security guards usher a weeping Riley out the front door. But for the first time, I'm not the one who has to be afraid. She hung up. The easy part was over. The revenge was sweet, but Uriel hadn't just left her a fortune. He had left her a war. and as Jade watched the storm clouds gather over the estate, she knew the lightning was about to strike closer to home than she ever imagined. The transition was not seamless. It was a demolition. 3 days after the reading of the will, Jade walked into the lobby of Walker Industries headquarters in Midtown Manhattan. The building was a monolith of steel and glass that scraped the sky, a physical testament to the empire Uriel Walker had built. Jade had been here only a handful of times, usually to drop off Uriel's lunch or pick up documents he had forgotten. In those instances, the receptionists had looked through her, and security had made her sign in as a visitor every single time, despite her stepdaughter status. Today, the head of security, a burly man named Miller, who had once detained her for 20 minutes because her ID was expired, was waiting at the curb to open her car door. "Good morning, Ms. Knight," Miller said, his voice tight. "Mr. Lawson is waiting for you in the executive suite." Jade stepped out of the black town car, Liam's car, feeling like an imposter in her own skin. She wore a tailored navy blazer and slacks she had bought yesterday at Macy's, terrified of spending the company's money on designer wear, even though Felix had assured her she had an unlimited clothing allowance. She didn't want to look like them. "Thank you, Miller," she said. The elevator ride to the 40th floor was silent and suffocating. When the doors opened, the atmosphere was chaotic. Phones were ringing off the hook, and staff members were huddled in hushed clusters, dispersing like roaches the moment they saw her. Felix Lawson met her in the hallway. He looked more tired than he had at the funeral. "We have a problem," Felix said, skipping the pleasantries. "Maxwell didn't just leave. He salted the earth." Jade followed him into the corner office, Uriel's office. It had been stripped. The shelves were empty. The desk was bare except for a single laptop. "What did he do?" Jade asked, placing her bag on the floor. "He deleted the vendor database for the entire Eastern Seaboard logistics network," Felix said, pinching the bridge of his nose. "And he invoked a force majeure clause in 3 of our biggest shipping contracts with Maersk and Costco, claiming the company was insolvent due to the CEO's death. He's trying to bankrupt us before you even sit down." Jade felt the blood drain from her face. "Can we undo it?" "The IT team is trying to recover the database, but the contracts, those are legal binds. If we don't renegotiate by Friday, the supply chain for our medical tech division halts. Hospitals won't get their dialysis machines. That's your department, Jade. You know what happens when those machines don't arrive." Jade closed her eyes. She pictured the pediatric ward she had worked in just last week. She pictured the waiting lists. This wasn't just numbers on a screen. Maxwell was playing with lives to spite her. "He thinks I'll fail," Jade said softly. "He thinks I'll panic and call him back, begging him to fix it in exchange for his job and his inheritance." "Precisely," Felix said. "He's betting on your incompetence." Jade walked to the window. New York City sprawled beneath her, a grid of endless noise and ambition. She wasn't a CEO. She was a nurse. She knew how to triage, how to insert a cannula, how to calm a terrified mother. Triage, she thought. This is just triage. "Get me the contact list for the regional directors of those hospitals," Jade said, turning back to Felix. Her voice was stronger now. "And get the legal team in here. I want to know exactly what breach of contract looks like for Maxwell. If he acted in bad faith to sabotage the company, that pierces the corporate veil, doesn't it?" Felix smiled, a rare, thin expression. "It certainly does. It opens him up to personal liability." "Good. But first, the hospitals. We need to route emergency stock from the Midwest hubs. It will cost us a fortune in expedited trucking, but we can't let the supply chain break. Do we have the cash reserves?" "We do," Felix said. "But the board won't like the expenditure. They're already calling for a vote of no confidence. They want Trevor. They think he's a visionary. Trevor is a gambler, Jade corrected. Set up a meeting with the board for tomorrow morning. I'll handle them. Right now, I need hope. Hope Payne? Felix asked. She knows where the bodies are buried, Jade said, and unlike the rest of them, she actually cared about Uriel. Bring her in. For the next 12 hours, Jade didn't sit in the leather chair. She sat on the floor with Hope, surrounded by files, mapping out shipping routes on a whiteboard with markers. They ordered pizza at 9 p.m. By 2 a.m., they had rerouted the critical supplies. It was messy, and it was expensive, but the hospitals would get their equipment. When Jade finally left the building at 3 a.m., she was exhausted, her eyes burning. She checked her phone for the first time in hours. She had 50 missed notifications, not from the company, from Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. She opened a link sent by an old nursing school friend with the caption, "Jade, have you seen this? It's trending." It was a video thumbnail. Riley Edwards's face, tear-streaked and perfectly lit, filled the screen. The title of the video, uploaded to her channel with 2 million subscribers, read, "The Truth: How My Father Was Manipulated on His Deathbed by His Nurse." Jade felt a cold pit open in her stomach. She pressed play. "I never wanted to do this," Riley began, wiping a delicate tear from her cheek. She was sitting in what looked like a hotel room, dressed in modest grey, a stark contrast to her usual flashy attire. "But I can't stay silent while my father's legacy is destroyed." Jade watched the video from the back seat of the town car, the city lights blurring past. "My father, Uriel Walker, was a great man," Riley continued, her voice breaking theatrically. "But in his final months, he was vulnerable. He was in pain. And he was isolated. We tried to see him. God, we tried. But she wouldn't let us." A photo appeared on the screen, a blurry, out-of-context shot of Jade arguing with a security guard at the hospital months ago. "Jade Knight," Riley said the name like a curse. "My stepsister. She controlled his meds. She controlled his visitors. She told us he didn't want to see us, that he was too sick. We believed her. We trusted her because she was a nurse. But she was isolating him. She was brainwashing him. And 3 days before he died, heavily medicated, he signed a new will. A will that left everything to her and threw his own children onto the street." Riley sobbed, looking directly into the camera lens. "She evicted us today. My brother Trevor, my uncle Maxwell. We were thrown out of our childhood home in the rain. I have nowhere to go. I'm scared. But I'm more scared for the company. She's going to ruin it. She doesn't care about the employees. She just wants the money." The video cut to a clip of Trevor, looking disheveled and shaken. "It's elder abuse," Trevor said gravely. "Plain and simple. She took advantage of a dying man. We are exploring legal options, but we need your support. Don't let her get away with this." The video ended with a call to action. Justice for Walker. Jade looked at the view count, 4.5 million views in 6 hours. She scrolled to the comments. Riley Stan 99. "OMG, this is horrific. She's a monster." Crypto King Trev. "Typical gold digger. We need to find where she lives." Nurse Life. Exclude. "As a nurse, this makes me sick. Revoke her license." A truth seeker. "I found her address, posting it in the Discord." Jade dropped the phone. Her hands were shaking. It wasn't just a lie. It was a carefully constructed narrative designed to weaponize Riley's massive audience against her. They had taken the truth, Jade protecting Uriel from their neglect, and inverted it into a story of coercion. "Ms. Knight," Miller asked from the front seat, eyeing her in the rearview mirror. "We have a situation at your apartment." What? Paparazzi. And others. A crowd. I can't take you home. It's not safe. Jade looked out the window. Take me to the estate. The gates are secure there. Yes, ma'am. The drive upstate took 2 hours. Jade spent it reading the onslaught of hate. Her LinkedIn was bombarded. The hospital where she used to work had issued a statement saying they were investigating the allegations. They were erasing her. When she arrived at the estate, it was dark and empty. The silence of the house, usually oppressive, now felt like a fortress. She walked into the library, the scene of the eviction, and sat in Uriel's chair. She wanted to scream. She wanted to call Riley and beg her to stop. She wanted to quit. Ring. The landline on the desk buzzed. It was an internal line. Hello? Turn on the TV. Liam's voice came through. Liam, where are you? I'm close, he said. Turn on the TV. Channel 4. The late night live interview. Riley is on. Jade grabbed the remote and flicked the TV on. There was Riley, sitting on the plush couch of a major late-night talk show, looking fragile and brave. The host, a famous comedian known for his everyman persona, was nodding sympathetically. So she just kicked you out? The host asked. No warning? None, Riley said. She gave us an hour to pack 20 years of memories. Uncle Max he's in the hospital. The stress caused a heart event. A heart event? Jade shouted at the screen. He's probably at the Four Seasons eating a steak. We're hearing reports, the host said, leaning in, that there is a mystery beneficiary involved, a Liam Walker. But isn't he dead? Riley nodded solemnly. My brother Liam died 6 years ago. We buried an empty casket. Jade, she's using his name. She created a fake trust in his name to bypass the inheritance laws. It's sick. She's using a dead man to steal our birthright. The audience gasped. She's doubling down, Jade whispered. She's denying you're alive. She's digging a grave, Liam said on the phone, and she just fell in. What do you mean? I sent you a file, Jade. Check your secure email. Uriel installed cameras everywhere, even in the hospital room. He knew they would lie. He recorded everything. Jade opened her laptop. There was an email from Ghost. Inside was a folder labeled Receipts. She clicked the first video. It was dated 3 months ago. Uriel's hospital room. The video showed Riley entering the room. She wasn't crying. She was on her phone. Dad, are you awake? Riley asked, poking Uriel's arm. Dad, I need you to sign this transfer. I need liquidity for the Europe trip. Uriel groaned in pain. Riley. Water. Riley sighed, rolling her eyes at the ceiling. I'll get you water after you sign. Come on, don't be dramatic. Just sign the check. She forced the pen into his hand. Jade felt a wave of nausea. She clicked the next video. Maxwell. Listen, Uriel. Maxwell was standing over the bed, eating a sandwich. The logistics merger is happening. I don't care if you don't like the terms. You're not going to be around to argue. Just let me handle it. And stop asking for Jade. She's annoying. I told the nurses to ban her for the night, so we could talk business. Jade clicked the third video. Trevor. If he dies before the fiscal year ends, the tax implications are better, Trevor was saying to Daphne in the corner of the room, thinking Uriel was asleep. We should ask the doctor about palliative sedation, speed things up. Jade slammed the laptop shut. She was shaking with rage. It wasn't just neglect, it was cruelty. Systematic, documented cruelty. You have the ammo, Liam said, but you can't just release it. They'll claim it's deep fake. They'll claim you doctored it. You need to do it live. You need to confront them where they feel safest. Where? Jade asked. The podcast, Liam said. Trevor and Riley are going on the summit tomorrow. It's the biggest live stream podcast on YouTube. 10 million live viewers. They're planning to do a fundraising drive for their legal defense fund. They're going to scam people, Jade realized. Exactly. Felix has already arranged it. You're the surprise guest. Me? I can't go on there. They'll tear me apart. Not if you bring the truth, Liam said. And not if you bring me. Jade froze. You're coming? I'm tired of hiding, Jade, and I'm tired of letting you fight my battles. Pick me up at Teterboro Airport at 10 a.m. We have a show to catch. The studio for the summit was located in a converted warehouse in Brooklyn. It had an industrial chic vibe, exposed brick, neon signs, and enough camera equipment to shoot a Marvel movie. The host, a shock jock named Dax, who thrived on conflict, was rubbing his hands together. This is going to be huge, he told his producer. We have the Walker victims in the booth. The numbers are already climbing. 3 million waiting in the lobby. Inside the soundproof glass booth, Riley and Trevor sat wearing oversized headphones. Riley looked perfectly tragic, dabbing at dry eyes. Trevor looked stoic and misunderstood. We just want the truth, Trevor was saying into the microphone as the on-air light flickered. We want our home back. We want our father's legacy restored. And what would you say to Jade if she were watching? Dax asked. I would say... Riley paused for effect. I forgive you. Just do the right thing. Step down. Give the money to charity if you have to. Just don't steal it. Wow, Dax said. That's big of you. Powerful stuff. Well, folks, we have a surprise. We reached out to the Walker estate for comment, and we didn't expect a response. But, well, look who just walked in. The door to the studio opened. Jade Knight walked in. She wasn't wearing the polyester suit. She was wearing a sharp, white pantsuit that looked like armor. She held a tablet in her hand. Riley's face went pale. Trevor stood up, knocking his chair over. This is an ambush. We didn't agree to this. Sit down, Trev, Dax said, grinning. It's a public forum. You wanted the truth, right? Let's hear her side. Jade sat at the third microphone. She put the headphones on. She looked calm, but underneath the table, her leg was bouncing. Hello, Riley. Hello, Trevor, Jade said. You have some nerve, Riley hissed, forgetting her forgiving persona for a second. You came here to gloat? I came to return something, Jade said. You mentioned a legal defense fund, asking your subscribers for money. People want to help, Riley defended. They see the injustice. I see the injustice too, Jade said. Dax, can I plug this tablet into the HDMI feed? I have some home movies I think the audience would love. No, Trevor shouted. Cut the feed. She's going to show fake videos. If they're fake, you can disprove them, Jade said calmly. Unless you remember saying them. Dax gestured to the tech guy. Plug it in. The screens behind them flickered. The live feed, watched now by 6 million people, switched to the view of Uriel's hospital room. The audio was crisp. I'll get you water after you sign. Come on, don't be dramatic. The silence in the studio was deafening. Riley stared at the screen, her mouth open. The comment section on the side monitor was moving so fast it was a blur of colors. WTF, is that Riley? She wouldn't give him water? She looked so bored. That's taken out of context, Riley stammered. He was choking. I was trying to help. Let's watch the next one, Jade said. Trevor's voice filled the room. We should ask the doctor about palliative sedation. Speed things up. Trevor slumped in his chair. That was a mercy discussion. He was in pain. He wasn't in pain that day, Jade said. That was the day he was in remission. He was lucid. He heard you, Trevor. He pretended to be asleep because he was afraid of his own son. You illegally recorded this, Trevor shouted, pointing a finger. This is inadmissible. Actually, a new voice boomed from the studio speakers. It's my house, my room, my recording. The studio door opened again. A man walked in. He walked with a cane, his left leg stiff, and scars ran down the side of his face, giving him a rugged, broken appearance. But the eyes, piercing blue, were unmistakable. Liam, Riley whispered. You're a hologram. You're dead. Liam Walker limped to the table. He didn't sit. He stood over Trevor. I was dead to you a long time ago, Liam said, his voice gravelly. But I've been watching. I watched you steal from the company. I watched you ignore Dad. And I watched Jade wipe his brow while you were partying in Ibiza. Liam turned to the camera. I am Liam Walker. I am the sole beneficiary. And everything Jade Knight has done, she has done with my authority. She is the CEO. She is the family. You two? He looked at his siblings with a mixture of pity and disgust. You're just strangers with the same last name. The internet broke. The live chat froze and then exploded. Dor Liam is alive. Bor O'Reilly is over. Dor Team Jade. Chor Karma Dax, the host, looked like he had just won the lottery. Liam, you're... Wow. So, the allegations of fraud. The only fraud here, Liam said, pointing at the donation link on the screen, is that fund. I suggest you refund every penny, Trevor, before the wire fraud charges stick. Trevor stood up, ripping his headphones off. I'm done. I'm leaving. He bolted for the door. Riley sat frozen, tears streaming down her face. Real tears this time. She looked at the monitor, watching her subscriber count drop. 1.9 million, 1.8 million, 1.5 million. It was a free fall. Jade, Riley whispered, please, turn it off. Jade looked at the woman who had tormented her for 20 years, the woman who had made her feel small, poor, and worthless. I can't, Jade said. The truth is out, Riley. You wanted to be famous? You wanted everyone to know the Walker name? Jade gestured to the camera, to the millions of people watching the real-time destruction of the Walker siblings' reputation. Now they know. Jade stood up and took Liam's arm. We're done here, Dax. They walked out of the studio, leaving Riley sobbing into the microphone as the credits rolled on her career. Outside, the rain had stopped. The air was crisp. You okay? Liam asked, leaning on his cane. Jade took a deep breath. She felt lighter than she had in years. I think so. That was intense. That was justice, Liam said. But Trevor ran, and Maxwell is still out there. A cornered rat bites the hardest. Let them bite, Jade said, opening the car door. I have the receipts. But as they drove away, Jade didn't notice the black SUV pulling out of the alleyway, trailing them at a distance. Maxwell wasn't done. He had lost his money, his reputation, and his company. He had nothing left to lose. And a man with nothing to lose is the most dangerous enemy of all. The Teterboro highway was slick from the storm. Jade drove Liam's black town car, her heart still hammering from the broadcast. Liam sat quietly, staring out at the passing industrial landscape. You think they'll recover? Jade asked. Riley and Trevor? No, Liam replied grimly. We gave the internet the ultimate villain story. They're radioactive. As traffic thinned near the airfield, Jade checked the rearview mirror. A heavy black SUV surged out of the blind spot. Lights off. Jade, look out! Liam shouted. Jade jerked the wheel as the SUV slammed into their bumper. Metal crunched, and the town car fishtailed violently. It's Maxwell, Liam realized, looking back. He's in the company armored Escalade. Maxwell swerved again, face illuminated by dashboard lights, mouth open in a scream of rage. He wasn't trying to pass. He was trying to kill them. "Speed up!" Liam yelled. "Don't let him box you in." Jade slammed the accelerator, but the heavier Escalade clipped their quarter panel. The town car spun out of control, tires smoking, before sliding down a grassy embankment and coming to a halt. "Liam!" Jade gasped. "I'm okay." He groaned, clutching his leg. "Get out! He's coming!" Maxwell skidded the Escalade to a halt on the shoulder and jumped out, wielding a tire iron. "You ruined it!" he roared, sliding down the hill. 30 years I gave to that company. You think I'd let a nurse and a cripple take it?" Jade stepped in front of Liam. "It wasn't yours to take, Maxwell. You stole from the pension fund. You stole from the vendors." "I built the logistics." Maxwell swung the iron, hitting the hood with a deafening clang. "Uriel was weak. He wanted to save the world. I wanted to make money." "And that's why he chose us," Liam said, standing up. "Because money without morality is just theft." Maxwell laughed brokenly, raising the iron. "Accidents happen on wet roads, Liam." Jade didn't flinch. She held up her phone. "Premeditated murder is harder to explain, especially when security is listening." Maxwell froze. "What?" "Miller," Jade said into the speakerphone. "Did you get that?" "Loud and clear, Ms. Knight." Miller's voice crackled. "State troopers are pulling up now." Maxwell spun around as blue and red lights washed over the scene. 3 patrol cars screeched to a halt, officers pouring out with guns drawn. Defeated, Maxwell dropped the tire iron into the mud. As officers cuffed him, Jade's knees finally gave out. Liam caught her. "I told you," Liam whispered. "A cornered rat bites, but you bite back." 2 weeks later, the fear at Walker Industries had been replaced by the hum of productivity. Jade stood at the head of the obsidian conference table, wearing a simple blouse, comfortable in her authority. "The audit is complete," Jade announced to the board. Maxwell was inflating shipping costs by 15% and funneling the difference offshore. "We've recovered 60% of the assets." "That's still a hit to earnings," Mrs. Galloway noted. "We've offset it," Jade replied, bringing up a graph. "We cut the waste, Trevor's private jets, Daphne's vanity galas, and the vendor kickbacks. But more importantly, we launched Walker Care, cost-price dialysis machines for rural hospitals." She showed a collage of headlines. Walker Industries, from villain to hero. "The public was ready to hate us," Jade said. "We flipped the script. Sentiment is up 200%. Institutional investors are buying back in." The room fell silent before Galloway began to clap. The others joined in. The door opened and Liam walked in. He looked healthier, the haunted look gone. "Apologies," Liam said, walking to the head of the table. "I'm here to make a formal motion. For 2 weeks, Jade has been my proxy, but this company needs a leader, not a stand-in." He placed a document on the table. "I am retaining majority ownership to ensure family control, but I am stepping down as chair. I am appointing Jade Knight as permanent CEO." Jade turned to him, eyes wide. "Liam, we didn't discuss this." "We did," he smiled. "When you drove through a spin to save my life. You're the fighter, Jade. I'm just the ghost. All in favor?" Every hand went up. Later that evening, Jade found Hope Payne packing files. "You're staying, right, Hope?" "Try and make me leave," Hope grinned. "Although I had to kick Daphne out today. She tried to sell us her contact list." Jade laughed. "And the others?" "Maxwell was denied bail," Hope listed. "Trevor was arrested at JFK with a fake passport. And Riley. She signed the settlement. Small stipend, permanent NDA, no social media. She's working at a diner in Ohio." Jade looked out at the city skyline. They finally got what they deserved. No, Hope corrected. They got what they earned, just like you, 6 months later. The Walker estate was transformed. Heavy curtains were replaced by sunlight, and the East Wing was being converted into a pediatric research foundation. Jade sat on the patio as Liam walked up from the garden, carrying a basket of vegetables. He was walking without his cane. "Tomatoes are coming in," Liam said. "How's the Empire?" "Quiet, boring. I love it." "I got a letter from prison." "Maxwell," Liam said, sitting down. "He wants forgiveness. I sent him a compass from Dad's collection. Told him I hope he finds his way." Jade shook her head, laughing. "You're terrible." "I'm a walker," he shrugged. "But you changed the definition of the name." "I'm not a walker," Jade said firmly. "I'm Jade Knight, and that's finally enough. It's more than enough." Liam pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Jade's breath hitched, but he laughed. "Relax, it's a pin." Inside was a golden lapel pin, the new Walker Industries logo. "The branding team wanted you to have the first one." Jade pinned it to her sweater. It felt heavy, solid. It represented responsibility and truth. "Ready to go to work?" Liam asked. "I'm ready," she said. They walked back into the house together. Partners. The vultures were gone, the storm had passed, and for the first time, the house was clean. The downfall of the Walker siblings wasn't just a news cycle, it was a reckoning. Maxwell faces 10 years for embezzlement. Trevor is awaiting trial for fraud. Riley Edwards lives in obscurity, a cautionary tale for the digital age. They thought power came from blood. They thought inheritance was a right, not a responsibility. But Jade Knight proved that true legacy isn't what you are given, it's what you build. And more importantly, how you treat people when you think you have nothing to lose. If you enjoyed this story of karma, justice, and the ultimate clapback, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss a story. Share this with someone who needs a reminder that the truth always wins in the end. Thanks for watching.